try to evaluate, how the water fund is doing. So,
But you do have, several of your salaries, and we break down the salaries, kind of divide them up between the water and the sewer and the general fund, as far as what the, salaries come out of, so that helps spread it out, Then, rather than absorbing if you absorbed all the salaries over into, your general fund budget, then you'd have to go way up on that, so. Part of them are budgeted through the water and sewer fund,
Yeah, they're absolutely interconnected, especially when you think about that, or when you think about, if you're running a deficit in one, and some folks, transfer money to the water fund if it's running a deficit and do things that way, so. Yeah, certainly wasn't trying to recommend that you not do one, I just wanted to go ahead and lay out there the statutory requirements.
Okay, very good. I think that helps us.
okay,
Okay,
and to Mr. Eady's point, the water fund in 15, the revenues are kind of way down from they were in 14. I know the 15 numbers aren't final, and, certainly haven't been audited or even looked at by, CLHP is gonna help you guys out again with the debt service and whatnot, but, so these may not be the ending numbers, but, your water revenue is only 182,000, and even in 14, it was 208,000, so there's a $20-some thousand drop in revenue right there alone. So, we're putting it, kind of put some strain on the water fund, and, if anybody has any particular questions about any line items within the water fund, we'd glad to try to go through them, but, for the most part, this is, all these numbers are pretty much just taking the averages over the last 3 years, and just trying to, come somewhere in that neighborhood. The big item is, one of the big items that's in the sewer department is the debt service. You have 2 GFA loans that you're having to repay, and the total payments on those are $134,000 a year, so. You have that line item down at the bottom of the second page. And I think at this point, we don't have anything as capital outlay within the water fund. The only thing that's really been indicated to us at this point is that the water fund is gonna need or want is a new computer. And then I guess there's been some discussion regarding a credit card reader, but we don't have a price on that just yet, so nothing. And it was also indicated that it would probably be good out of SPOS funds if it was,
okay.
depending on how much it costs,
We need to put about 10 or 15,000 in there for,
Well, he said if it's,
pipe relining. Because,
what is that now?
we've had a problem.
Okay.
We could add it, so we need to add it, 10 to 15,000 for pipe and line.
You can't capital outlays, I guess.
But the sewer,
Yes, technically.
Yeah. 10,000 for pipe.
Well, what about the, if I'm asking the right
have-
question for the, that sewer, what was the guarantee on that we won't have, I know we have problems, but I'm just saying, don't they give you a warranty guarantee on that, the pipes or whatever? Cause they put them in, they said they had not been changed in 60 years. Is that what I'm asking, the sewer pipe or
Well,
whatever?
they
that was
guarantee,
talking about?
when they put new ones in, they guarantee them for a year. And, a lot of things could happen, just like the one I'm talking about, we need relining, just got cracks in it. And that's what caused our pump problem down here by Englehart, which Englehart is good enough to pay for our pumps, because they're chalk messed it up. We need to get that pipe relined so it doesn't happen again.
And just to make sure, we do have a couple of line items called pipes.
And materials,
Yeah,
is that number
are we
81?
coming in excess of what we normally pay?
And it says,
Okay. So we do have a small amount in the sewer, it's only 1,000, there's like 14,000 down in the
Yeah.
water fund as a
Pipes
pipes
and
and material.
materials.
line
Is that
item.
number 81? Line item,
Yes, ma'am.
number 80, okay.
So in
so that
addition,
would-
in the 10,000 in addition to
Yeah.
that, okay. We wanna make sure that, that wasn't something.
So do we put that as a separate or,
That'll go into that.
It's
With
probably
that-
on the
we just
capital
need to
outlay,
increase
Okay,
or
okay.
we could just add it to the pipeline, that's semantics really, but.
okay.
you know, just in general, I mean, we see a lot of communities that are having trouble, particularly with their water sewer systems, and, you know, the biggest expenses are trying to maintain systems that are aging, which I'm sure you guys have run into, and the other part of that is just the debt associated with the initial development of it. It's a common problem, and, it's certainly probably one of the biggest challenges we've seen, so.
And also just to point out on the last page of the budget, on page 4, we're showing, you know, budgeting for a transfer coming in from the general fund, you know, to that end, with, you know, to kind of subsidize the water fund, and then in their case, get a balanced budget, so the, you know, total revenue would match up to total expenses, but it would necessitate a transfer coming in from the general fund to make that happen. So that's just kind of the water fund real quickly, unless anybody else has any additional questions or comments within the water fund.
On 89, I mean, what is that? The depreciation, can you explain that?
Well, depreciation, what that is, you know, you have your capital assets in the water fund, primarily being the plant itself, and it's depreciated over the life of the asset. So if it, you know, so like you go buy a vehicle, you pay $10,000 for it, do you expect that vehicle, typically, you know, vehicles will get an assigned life for like 5 years. So you would, instead of really taking the full $10,000 expense in the year you bought the vehicle, you would take that prorated over the 5 years, so it would be $2,000 every year as depreciation expense.
It's not a direct cash.
Right, so it's not a budget item, since it's
Okay.
not, because since you're not paying, you're not writing a check for
Okay.
depreciation, it's a book entry.
Okay,
Where you're, you know, like I said, where you, as you're buying assets, you expect them to last, you know, more than the 1 year you bought them.
yeah, like,
And so it's just kind of spread that cost over the life of it, as opposed to, you know, taking the whole hit in 1 year. So, and that's the reason it shows up as an actual expense, because it, you know,
yes.
it's something that gets recorded on your books at the end of typically at the end of the year. Some people do it, you know, monthly or quarterly or whatever, but, since it's just a book entry, not really a cash transaction, I didn't include it on the budget. So if you were looking at you know, if you were talking about what your books would look like at the end of the year, you would need to include that on there, but typically especially for the water fund, they want to know the cash from when it came, you know, what's coming in, that they're actually collecting, and what they're actually paying out in terms of bills and whatnot. So.
Depreciation is kinda like the property tax, we talking about depreciating, if you got an overall fund balance that, you know, you add all your equipment up and all of that, you know, from year to year, then it goes down accordingly, like you talking about, as the
Right.
depreciation goes down, so that would drop accordingly, you know, by
Yeah,
those
each year,
numbers.
yeah, the depreciation expense would typically go down unless you, you know, buy more assets to kind of replace the ones that are already on there, so like I said, that's just a book entry thing, an accounting entry. And that's why it's, you know, like I said, it's on there in the actual columns, cause I got your 14 actuals to match up to what your 14 audit report was showing. And so that's why it's really on there.
Anything else, water fund related, covered? Moving on, we have one final budget for you all to look at. And that's it's in that last packet, it's the library fund. Matt, why don't you walk us through that very briefly?
Yeah, this one, you know, there's not much to it. I mean, it's got a little bit of revenue coming from the county and from Ivy, you know, only $7,500. And of course, the primary expense would be the salary for the library and then the assistant librarian that they have over there. The other thing is we do have a capital outlay item of $9,958 for some new flooring at the library. I think we actually had budgeted for it last year, but I guess it just didn't happen, so we're gonna put it in there again, you know, and I guess in the hopes that it'll happen this year.
So they don't lose it if they don't use it, right?
You know, I mean,
Yeah, this is just your estimate to go by when it comes to budgeting, so you're not putting anything in here doesn't mandate that you follow through, those are
Right,
further.
you don't have to spend it just because you budgeted it.
Absolutely.
It's, you're not really supposed to spend it if it's not budgeted, but, it's up to the point that it is budgeted for, but, because it's there doesn't mean you have to, go out and have this useful and put in. That's just, it's going on 2 years now, that I guess it's something they would really like to have done.
Anybody knows how long
Probably
the
needs to be-
carpet has been on the, how long has the carpet been on the floor?
I have an invoice with the estimate, that's all I
Is
have.
that what it is? Okay. You know what, and looking at this, council, I guess that we wouldn't so much, what about this building, what do you all think? I mean, with the lighting and everything else, we need to, there's one other item you might wanna, since this is capital outlay, that would come out of the SPOS money for the lighting in here, would it not?
Well,
Okay.
you can't spend it on SPOS or something maintenance, it has to be a capital item that, that fits the description of SPOS.
When you take the SPOS and you put it, the ballot before people, or for the voters rather, you pick certain areas that you're saying you will make capital purchases, with these specific amounts of funds that you expect.
The
to
reason I
receive.
say that is the outside, like the lights outside, what do you call those? The one like this out in the parking lot, the
Street
church
light,
parking.
kind of, yes, ma'am.
You know those that's like the church parking lot, lights over there? That's what Mr. Nelson was saying that we could use out here. The parking, what do you call them? I can't think of the light, what's the name of the particular light? That would be a capital outlay. I mean, would that not? Would that come under that?
Well, I mean, one, it depends on what your approved SPOS projects were from the very beginning when they made the vote. I mean, you can't change what your SPOS projects are after they voted, the people have voted on them. Unless you, there is a way to sort of get around it, but typically, under normal
So
circumstances,
we don't
what
need to
you.
go that route then.
You're right,
We
what
won't
you,
just-
I mean, it may be, a lot of places do add in, like city hall improvements, as a SPOS project. I don't remember what your all's SPOS projects are, if there was such a thing, or a category that would be general enough that you could cover city hall improvements under. Most of them is, the majority of expenses go to roads and streets, water and plant.
And you really
Public
look at,
safety, recreation projects, things like that.
But some of them do add in a little some city hall
They
improvements.
did
but if
include
it wasn't there to begin with,
administrative
do that.
buildings, but you still can't do maintenance on, I
Right.
mean, if it's just like a roof and things, that is considered maintenance. If you added on to it, and made it bigger, that might come under it, but I'm not sure if we have it designated in the city of Gordon for administrative buildings.
For that
under
SPOS
SPOS.
funding,
Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
Remember when we did the city hall roof, we couldn't use it,
Right. I
we
didn't
couldn't use that
put
to
it in.
replace the
and
roof.
that's really
How long ago
more
was
of an
that
attorney
been?
question,
That's been in
that's
the last
certainly
4 or 5
legal,
years.
don't wanna be on the wrong side of it.
Okay, no, we don't wanna do that,
We couldn't use it.
but
We tried.
there's definitely some, he
Yeah,
called the name
it all
for it out there
depends
that
on
we
the nature of the
need.
expense.
So I guess that'll be something that the council will decide.
Yeah,
Okay.
we could do that out of the general fund.
Okay,
and stuff.
okay. Okay. Well, that's all.
And I guess that's really it, unless anybody else has any other questions about anything.
All right, and just, anyone does have questions, sure.
When, like now, we're $200,000 over on expenditures, compared to the revenues, typically what you have to do when you're running in the paper, like whenever you decide to do that, you have to make the designation where those funds come from, and all that we got basically right now is One Georgia Fund is what our, revenue, fallback source is, so that would be taken out of that, and to explain that, when you do it like that, then that's the reason we don't have to come back every time to do a resolution if you've already proposed it to come out of that fund, see? A lot of people hadn't understood, that's what you do, designate it in the budget, and if you state it, when you advertise it, it's legal to get that money just by transferring it, through regular means without having to vote on it every time. It's already voted on once we accept this budget.
Right.
So I just wanted to point that out,
If y'all's only source of,
Extra money.
to cover any excess expenditures is the Georgia Fund One
Yes,
account.
sir.
And, yeah, you could designate, kind of like what we did with 2015, where we had, it was only 10,000, but we showed a transfer coming from the Georgia Fund One.
That's right, we made that designation at
Same
that
thing.
time, right?
Yeah, and we have to do something, because you gotta do a balanced budget, so we
That's
have to
right.
have something that's gonna basically. add-
Either that or you might start
270,000.
cutting. You know.
Or figure out a way to get some, real money trees.
Right.
Yeah,
Might
I thought
know
about
how
that.
to do
It's in the
that.
next-
Well, with with revenues coming in, you know, that's gonna be a minute though, with that water, new plant out there.
Couple of
And
years
that'd be,
away.
that'd be mostly in the water fund too, so, you know.
Which would be
With
really
that.
helpful.
Okay.
The, yeah, the other thing I just wanted to kind of go back to is the timeline and schedule. And, yeah, I remember, last year, I think it was kind of figuring out, or getting the procedure, getting everything to where it needed to be, to where we had an adoptable budget. And I want to make sure that we're on a good
Right.
track and that everybody's, on the same page as we move forward. Kind of revisiting the general process. What it would be is, an ad would be run that would contain things that you were talking about. It would make the budget officially available for public review at City Hall. It would also, within a week's period, announce a public hearing that would be held to where the public could come and comment. One of us would come and review what the budget said and allow for public comment and feedback. And then there would also need to be an official presentation of the budget to council outside of what we've done, it's more of a formality but there. And then at least a week after that, council could adopt the budget as is, or as I believe last time, council adopted and made some amending changes to the budget as well. And so we want to work on the timeline that the city is ready to go forward with. And so, as I mentioned before, the fastest we can do that is to run the ad in next week's Wilkinson County Post. I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that and don't want to operate in a vacuum of, being a regional commission, but certainly want to operate for the city. So.
Well, gentlemen, y'all think that it's a goal, we have to move forward.
Monday night is a regular council meeting, I think we could probably make a motion at that time, we can't do it tonight, no motion can be made,
Right,
so if we
right.
waited to Monday, you still have time to get it in the paper, by next week, to get it in there. If you
Well-
have it to them by Tuesday at dinner time,
Well, I'm like,
if you got it prepared, all you have to do is, send it to them if we make that motion.
the 22nd, is that what was that, let me go back and read, that we talked
The
about. You said
twenty-second would
that-
be when the paper comes out.
When the
next week.
paper,
So
that's
we'd
what-
have to, I don't know what their deadline is to get stuff to them to be in that paper,
On a Monday
Right.
by 12, but they have given the exception
so.
to a Tuesday for us, they've done that.
So
So,
if they're willing to do that, then that's something that could be done if,
'Cause
at
we
the
said
meeting
this-
Monday, y'all could make a
the
motion to
19th.
move forward with, advertising the budget. And then
I
if
mean,
they're
I'm
willing
ready,
to,
but-
extend it, give the city, an extra, day, I guess, to get that to them.
I mean, I didn't wanna put y'all in such a,
Hey,
Scary,
we're here
but-
to, we're here to be in Xperia, I believe. So what I'm hearing is council will take up on Monday night a vote to run
wait
the
now,
advertising.
wait, let me say this. I thought in our discussion, we had said, you mentioned to me, and I put it in the notes, that you said the 15th, which we had the meeting today, but since it was so close, what was that, the 19th is Monday, I believe, am I right?
That's right.
But what we said, you said you'd go ahead and run it for that day, which is the 22nd, and we come back on the 26th.
Right, and so what we would have is we would run the ad on the 22nd. We would have that public hearing at the same time, the budget would be available at City Hall for public review, starting the 22nd until when the public hearing is scheduled. We could hold the public, or you could rather hold the public hearing, in a special called meeting on the 26th.
Right. I think that'd be
And that
better.
would be, potentially at 5:30 as well.
Right.
And then you all rather could adopt the budget 1 week later on the 2nd of November. That's that very fast timeline.
That's what, are y'all in agreement with that, I think? Are y'all, I mean,
I
Go
didn't
ahead.
see any of
Go
those
ahead.
really out of, place, I thought most of them were pretty good, I look over closer, it looked pretty good.
Councilwoman Winfrey?
Okay, on the 19th though, we're at the city council meeting.
The
Then
regular.
regular meeting. Okay, that's when we have to take a vote on it, because like Mr. Edie said, we cannot vote on anything tonight.
Well,
Absolutely, we weren't looking for any formal action tonight.
Well, we know that.
This week.
We gotta have a meeting Monday.
Your council,
Our regular meeting.
Monday's our regular meeting.
No, what we were saying, just to so that, now my understanding, clear me up, correct me if I'm wrong again. You said that, which we had this today, and we will need, we will need to run the ad in the paper on October 22nd. That's gonna give him enough time to what, advertise?
Yes, and here's, just to kind of re-summarize what I think I'm kind of informally getting from, just general thoughts. On the meeting the 19th, council would vote to approve the ad to the paper. So everybody's in agreement on the time frame there. We would immediately send the ad to the Wilkinson County Post to run on the 22nd. We can have that thing ready, or honestly send it to them and say, if this, then do.
So in other words, we need a meeting the 19th.
We got.
That's a regular scheduled meeting.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So I thought, this was what I took down, and you said we could move, and the council meeting that was scheduled for the 19th is scheduled for October 26th.
Right, so what that would do,
But that's not a regular council meeting.
no, it is not, it is not. So that would be a special called meeting and a public hearing, is what the 26th would be.
Well, now, I thought what you said to me with that, and I made sure of that, because I took it specifically as, now I'm understanding you, because see, I didn't have the 19th in here, period, in the memo that I sent to you. That was on the 9th.
That's right, and I think that's something that has come out of this meeting, so that we can have that extra
Okay,
level
can y'all-
of consistency
y'all-
amongst council.
Okay, because, see, restate what you said just again.
Yeah, and so I think what we'd be looking for on the 19th would just be that extra level of confirmation as we go forward in the process, and it would be a fairly quick vote that would say, yes, we are, prepared to run the ad.
Only so we'll go ahead with the regular.
That's right.
Okay. Then we'll come back on the 26th, okay.
And we probably need to put the salary scale on that too. We have to vote on it kind of separate. It has to be, voted on before our people can actually get the raise, so.
Are y'all wanting to do the 2%, I guess, is that?
Well,
Yes,
Okay.
So we would have to vote.
I'll go ahead and do it. We'll go ahead.
So
Mayor
we'll put a-
suggested they get a
Work up a
2% raise
schedule
across the
with,
board,
show
everybody.
us The pay with the 2% rate.
2%.
And the budget will advertise for, will
2%.
be that 2% as well.
It won't have all this stuff on there, it'll just be, basically one column.
Mayor's recommending 2% for everybody. So that includes the library and all of them, okay? All right. Anything else? Y'all have anything else, council? Mr. Wynn, Ms. Whipple? I guess I was just consent. All right, well, that being all.
motion to adjourn.
Second.